What's going on, everybody? This is A&J, and welcome back to the network. And now we're going to get into some NBA talk, which I've been chomping at the bit for that pretty much for a while now. And needless to say, on a personal note, I'm actually glad that I'm giving myself the old kick in the pants, so to speak, because I'm starting to push myself a lot more to getting this content out, and I'm certainly going to work a lot harder to be more consistent with everything that I bring to the table. So look forward to more, and hopefully it's enjoyable for everyone. That said, what I want to talk about in this video is actually going to cover a few different things, and the thing I want to start with is the proposal that has been made for the start of the new NBA season, which is to be as early as December 22nd. And the interesting thing to me about that is that it's not going to be a bubble, it's going to be regular games, which will be in regular NBA arenas. And on one hand, I'm fine with that, but on the other hand, I actually have a fair share of concerns because, again, we're still dealing with COVID and all the problems that that presents. And that's also in contrast to the fact that when you look back to what they did in the bubble, not one positive test throughout that entire time period. And it's just wild to me that not only are they doing this so soon after they just ended the NBA Finals roughly a month or so ago, month and some change, but who's counting? I mean, it's still going to be a short window. And of course, by the way, congratulations to the city of Los Angeles, not only the Lakers, but with the Dodgers. You know, y'all are having a hell of a year through all of this. I mean, on at least two different levels. But of course, we won't harp too much on that. Just want to share the love for y'all on that, and you certainly deserve it for all those reasons, all the right reasons indeed. But getting right back to the point, though, it's just really, really interesting to me that, again, they're looking to start this as soon after having finished the NBA Finals as they are. And I guess what also concerns me about that is the fact that not only are you exposing players more to COVID being in regular NBA arenas, I don't know what their plans are as far as the fans are concerned. I mean, I guess we'll find out about that in the coming days. But it's getting to be cold outside. I mean, we're approaching winter time, and that's not going to make things any better at all. I mean, I just have a really tough time not being concerned about that, because why wouldn't anyone be is my question. And the flip side of that, though, which sadly makes a lot of sense, and I guess you could say there's a little pun in there on that, is the amount of money that they miss out on, which is upwards of $1 billion if they wait, say, till what was said to be Martin Luther King Day. I mean, that's definitely a significant chunk to be missing out on. So, to that end, I can understand them wanting to go along with the December 22nd start. And as of today, they actually did go through with that proposal, and it has been accepted. So, really, it's just hope for the best and expect the worst. And as I mentioned before, 2020, that's certainly been the theme of this year, more than ever. But as if that wasn't life already. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how all of that pans out, because for me, I honestly feel like there are just a lot of red flags going into this, but at the same time, I look forward to it just as a fan. And, you know, as much as I love football, I have probably a little bit more fun watching the NBA, and it's kind of been like that for as long as I can remember. So, I guess that's a blessing in disguise, so to speak. I mean, I don't really know. It's just really, really tricky, but we'll find out how that works out. But that aside, one of the other highlights going into this NBA season is also the travel issues, especially for the Toronto Raptors. And much like in Major League Baseball, you had to have the Toronto Blue Jays play outside of Toronto, somewhere in the U.S. I didn't keep up as well with that, so I'm not exactly sure where they played. I'm pretty sure it was somewhere east. I mean, that would make the most sense, and that would also make the same amount of sense in the case of the Raptors, because amongst the cities that were listed, and this is having gathered the information I did watching the jump today. Just to name a few, there's Pittsburgh, there's Newark, there's, I believe they said Buffalo was one of them, and this next one, well, there was also Louisville, but I think that one's more of an outside shot. But we'll see. I mean, anything's possible. Um, but the one that you would also think would be the outside shot, given the geographical aspect of it, easy for me to say, would be Seattle. And here's what's really funny to me about that. Years ago, they had a show on NBA TV, and David Aldridge was on there. Um, I don't remember who all he was talking to, but they actually talked about the prospect of moving the Toronto Raptors to Seattle and maybe even ultimately becoming the Supersonics, which I don't know if I ever see that happening, and I certainly didn't feel that way at the time that it was mentioned. And he actually referenced what was then the M&M's commercial, where he was saying, "I don't know what you guys are talking about, but count me in." I mean, I kind of got a chuckle out of that, but at the same time, just for the sake of it being Seattle and how much they've missed NBA basketball up there, it wouldn't be a bad thing. And having the Raptors play in Seattle, I think that would certainly be something that would be welcomed up there, especially given how Oklahoma City wound up hosting New Orleans as the New Orleans Hornets, the then New Orleans Hornets, as Katrina happened at the time, and that was where all their home games were played. Ultimately, and I guess you could say ironically enough, they wound up having the Seattle Supersonics move to Oklahoma City, becoming the Thunder. And, well, we all know how that story went. But anyway, it's just really, really interesting how all of that unfolded. And now we're sitting here all these years later with that possibility of Toronto actually playing their home games in Seattle. Now, again, given the geographic aspect, God, I love how I can talk today. I don't really see that happening. I would go, out of all the other cities that I mentioned, I would say that Newark would be the favorite. One, because they're going to still be closer to the Knicks, the Nets, the Celtics, etc. Sixers, of course, because they're all within that radius within the East Coast, the Upper East Coast. And I think it just is a better fit because, the travel won't be as demanding. And I can't say it enough, COVID, damn it. But anyway, but the Seattle prospect is certainly an interesting one. And if it happens, I'm not going to be mad at it. But at the same time, it is going to present some travel issues. And is that risk going to be worth the reward? I mean, we'd have to wait and see. But other than that, there's also been the talk. This is going to be the last thing I discuss in this video, and then I'm going to save other stuff for a separate video, or separate videos rather, is the future of one Giannis Antetokounmpo. And Yeah, you see I'm scratching my head, and that's really coincidence. But yeah, it really is because you hear so many things. I mean, obviously, it's been said he wants to stay in Milwaukee, and you got to respect him for that. Just, being the kind of guy that he is. But really, I mean, in my personal opinion, I'm going to say that he does stay there. But if he leaves, the only place I really see him going that makes the most sense is Miami. Especially being the reigning defending Eastern Conference champion, and of course, the team that knocked the Milwaukee Bucks out of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Um, it would make an awful lot of sense, especially since he actually has residence out in Miami, his off-season residence between there and Greece. And to me, I think him and Jimmy Butler will do a tremendous amount of things for one another when they actually, if and when they join forces. And I've also been on record, well, maybe not official record, but I've said a lot of times that if you don't see Jimmy Butler as a bona fide superstar, then I don't know what games you were watching during the finals, because given the circumstances that he was facing and how much he had to carry that team with injuries to both Goran Dragic as well as, excuse me, Bam Adebayo, who to me is also a superstar in the making, if not a superstar as it is. Um, just with what they have there, and then the emergence of Tyler Hero, who is a star unto himself. You just can't say enough for the performance that he had in the finals. I mean, again, he's a star in the making, and one thing about that is that he's also been mentioned as the sacrificial piece to make room for Giannis to come in. I hope that's not the case. I hope they do what they can to keep most, if not all, the core pieces there so that they can add Giannis to that, because at that point, I don't see how you beat Miami, because they're just going to be far too formidable, regardless of who you're going against. And that's even with Anthony Davis along with LeBron James and how good they are out in LA. I mean, if you could think of a surefire combination that would beat that, I would say that would certainly be it, between Butler, Giannis, and then you got Bam there. I mean, that's just a problem and a half, to say the very least. Um, well, I did say that was going to be the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video, but something else I wanted to point out too is that the team that you really got to look out for coming into this season is easily the Golden State Warriors. I mean, they're going to come back healthy. They're going to come back rested because they didn't participate in the bubble. But, they've got Steph, Clay, Draymond coming back, in addition to Andrew Wiggins, and he's definitely going to fulfill a role that has been missing really since the departure of Harrison Barnes, even though they did bring in KD at the process. Of course, KD going on to Brooklyn, but now he sort of fills that void, although to a lesser degree. But, he's going to do a lot of those things and be very, very productive in the process. The one issue there is that you've got a lot of young talent that you got to develop, but a lot of them have looked pretty good, particularly Eric Pascal, who is, I guess you could call a poor man's Draymond. I mean, they're pretty much the same player, but he's not the same well-rounded dynamic that you get out of a Draymond Green, and that has been a driving force behind the Warriors' success in past years. So, yeah, you got to look forward to that. Oh, and let's not forget about the fact that they have the number 2 pick in the NBA draft coming up. A lot of that I'm going to get into in a separate video as well. But let me know what you guys think. I mean, given that we're going to have basketball starting on December 22nd, competitively speaking, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's certainly going to have a significant amount of intrigue. But again, let me know what you guys think. If you enjoy the content, drop a like, thumbs down, or thumbs up down below. Don't, no thumbs down, please. But, you know, I mean, I guess I set myself up for that, so I probably deserve it. But, anyways, that aside, I want to thank you guys for being here, and thanks for having me. Take care.